Hello YouTube. Today I'm going to give you guys an update on my 2015 Lincoln MKZ Hybrid. It has passed 200,000 miles and she's still running very well. It's a milestone that not many cars reach without a lot of problems, but my MKZ has got here with very minimal problems. There are some issues that I'll go over with you in this video, so stay tuned. Also, I haven't been posting every week. Life has been busy, but I'll try to get back on it as soon as possible. Show your support, subscribe, and enjoy my content. If you want to connect with other Lincoln MKZ owners, check out the Real Lincoln MKZ Facebook enthusiast group, which I will leave a link in the description below. They have been very helpful for me in diagnosing problems and much more. It's a really good community. Let's get on with the video, shall we? Alright, so I have just over 323,000 kilometers on my car, which is about 200,000 miles. This is a big milestone for any vehicle, especially for an entry-level luxury vehicle like the Lincoln MKZ Hybrid. So how is the engine at 200,000 miles? It's in excellent condition, I would say. There are no misfires. I get the exact same gas mileage since I bought the vehicle in 2019 with 43,000 miles on it. But I did get a check engine light a couple of days ago, and when I plugged in my scan tool to read the code, it's a P013A, which is a bad downstream O2 sensor. The engine is still running smooth with this code on, and my gas mileage is great as well. But I do want to address this issue as soon as possible. I'm going to be changing both the upstream and downstream sensor, which I will make a video on how to do that. So yeah, that's pretty much it with the engine. The engine is still smooth, no vigorous vibrations or anything at this many miles. It's doing really good and I'm very surprised. So let's talk about the transmission. The transmission actually seems to be okay, even if it's a CVT. There are no signs of it failing. 80% of my commute is on the highway, and so the transmission doesn't get that abused. Even when I drive in the city, I make sure not to accelerate hard or brake suddenly, which does hurt the transmission. Since my ownership of this vehicle since 2019, I have drained and filled the transmission twice already. And I highly recommend you doing this. There is no such thing as lifetime fluid, so make sure to get that changed if you haven't already on your Lincoln MKZ Hybrid. This transmission does have an internal filter, which you will have to take the transmission apart to change that. It is not necessary to do so. Just change the fluid and you'll be good to go. This is a question that I get asked a lot, and that is, how is the hybrid battery doing? There's really nothing much to say about the hybrid battery. It's doing good, and again, like I said about the transmission, there are no signs of this battery failing. There's no real way of testing out the health of the battery without a proper scan tool, which I don't have. But for driving this every day, I think the battery is doing very well. Still getting the same driving range and fuel economy, so there's no issues with that I'm aware of. If the hybrid battery does fail, I think it's worth to get it replaced because it has lasted this long. So if I replace it, I'm sure I can get another 200,000 miles out of it. The hybrid battery pack is not that expensive. It's about $3,000 Canadian, which is very cheap compared to other hybrid vehicles in this class. How is the suspension, you may ask? To be honest, I think the time has come to replace the suspension. It has over 200,000 miles, which is a lot for original shocks and struts. I do hear some clunking when I go over bumps in the right rear. The ride has become very floaty and a little uncontrolled over bumps now, even in normal mode. Sport mode feels like the new normal mode now. There are no error messages about the suspension, but I do know that down the road I will have to replace these shocks. They are quite expensive to replace. That's why some people replace the shocks with passive shocks, but I'm not sure how the passive shocks feel. If you replaced your shocks with passive shocks, comment down below and let me know if there is a big difference in ride quality. The price has come down for these shocks on Rock Auto. 2 years ago, they were over $200 a piece. Now I see it on Rock Auto for $165 a piece for the rear and $185 a piece for the front, which is not that bad. So you will spend about $700 Canadian just to buy the shocks for all four corners, which is not bad if you consider some Mercedes models, which one shock is $700. The interior has held up very well for a 200,000 mile car. The driver's seat has typical wear on the side bolsters, as you can see here. There are no rips or tears. One thing I would like to note is the driver's seat is not as comfortable as before, which is to be expected. The seat cushion has really sinked in, so maybe down the road I'll replace the whole seat itself instead of just replacing the cushion, so we'll see about that. The front passenger seat is doing very well. It obviously doesn't get used as much as the driver's seat, but it still has some wear. The front passenger seat is still very soft and very comfortable to sit in. The back seats are in pristine condition. Not much wear and tear going on back here because it barely gets used. I do take very good care of my interior, but almost every time I do a video, the interior is dirty because this is a daily driven vehicle. Of course, you're going to see some dirt here and there. Let's talk about the infamous sunroof. I don't use the sunroof that much, but I do open and close the shade often. So I haven't had any issues with the shade getting stuck or anything, so it's been a relief. But I am aware that it's a ticking time bomb. But hey, I bought this car for it to be used, so I'm going to use it. If it gets stuck, it's not the end of the world. There's some people online that I know, they have completely ripped off the shade and put in an aftermarket shade in. So, like I said, it's not the end of the world, you move forward. I love the sunroof in this car, and at the time when this car was built, it was the largest opening sunroof in its class, and I still like it today. When I was younger, I always had a fear of this car breaking down, especially the sunroof issue that I got to know at the time, but now I really don't care because I got my money's worth. This car has served me very well. Other than that, the interior is doing very well. Let's go back to the exterior because I want to address some issues that I've come across. So rust is a concern for me right now. Below the door panel where the water drains are has started to rust on all four doors. I do clean this area with my pressure washer, but still rust is taking over. My trunk lid has started to rust as well, which I temporarily covered it with duct tape. I know, it's duct tape, it looks ugly, but I have to get the whole trunk lid repainted, which is not cheap to do so this is my temporary fix until the winter goes through. The hood of the car has also started to rust, which is a shame because the rust has started from underneath the paint, which you can see the bubble right here. The paint work on this car is not done very well. That's something that really bothers me. My GMC Envoy, which is now 18 years old, has 288,000 miles and it doesn't have this kind of rust on it. And we've owned it since it was new, so it was well taken care of. And there's no rust under the door sills or any like paint that's bubbling, you know? So the paint quality on that vehicle was a lot better, and that's not even a luxury vehicle. So I've talked to a local body shop owner, and he said that he can get this done, but it's going to cost a lot of money to fix all the rust and get it back to normal. And he also said that the Ford Fusions and Lincoln MKZs have one of the worst paint jobs he's come across in a modern day car, which I totally believe. That being said, this car has been a joy to own. Every car has its problems. Some may have more problems than others. I don't plan on giving this car away. My plan with this car is to drive it as long as I can before something major happens, like a hybrid battery, transmission, or an engine failure. Even then, I would consider replacing those components and keep driving it. If you think about it, I think replacing parts is still cheaper than a car payment. Hope you all enjoyed, and see you all next time.